From Cowork 591 in beautiful downtown Jesup, Iowa. This is the birthplace of the Bohemian Resistance. We're the Bohemian Underground with producer Blake Tempus. I'm Jim Gillespie, and this is the news for September 8th, 2025. Sponsored by Mickey D's Pizza and Lobster. The Pharaohs are kind sponsors of this podcast. Include them in your wedding, graduation, or festival plans. Don't wait. Their schedule is filling up for 2026, mind you. 2026, they are busy people. They had a great year. They're sponsoring a traveling art show for the Steve Brown Art Center. Thanks to them for including the traveling art show and sponsoring us. Another sponsor who's been with us since the birth of the Steve Brown Art Center is Derek's Repair, located in Jesup, Iowa. Contact Derek Marty for your car repair needs. Also, check out the podcast, What's Up, with our friend Bubba Seaman. Bubba does a super job. Even though he's a Wapsie Valley warrior, we will not hold that against. Tonight, we're lucky. We have a Jayhawk, a former Jayhawk, former student, Jordan Knebel is with.
How we doing, sir?
Very good, Jordan. Thanks for coming in. We ran into each other at the library, and I've been wanting to corral you and get you on the air. You have lived such a adventurous life that I wanted to talk to you about that. What year did you graduate? I was trying to remember that.
I graduated 2002.
2002. God, where the years go? Oh my God.
Yeah, they've gone probably by pretty fast.
Tell us your family. You've got children.
Yeah, so I've got 2 kids of my own. My fiance has a daughter, so we're kind of a blended family. But my son is 12. He's almost 13 now. My daughter is 8, and then my stepdaughter is 10. So we got about 2 years in between each of them.
You're not far from having 3 teenagers here, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. You'll enjoy that time. Everybody's frightened about the teenage years, but those are fun years. So.
Yeah, my son, I think I can handle it with him, but my stepdaughter, she's getting into those preteen years, and we're discovering a lot about each other.
It'll be fun. And then who's your fiance?
So her name's Jasmine. She's from Cedar Falls.
Okay.
We actually met through my business. I was doing some handyman repairs for her in a house that she was renting, and we just got to talking and kept talking, and it's kind of a funny story if you don't mind.
Go ahead, tell a story.
So I actually got a work order for her house in January for some screen windows. She needed new screen windows. I thought screen windows in January was kind of a
unique,
odd thing, but it was a rental house, and her landlord put in the request, and so I went out and measured the windows and submitted the measurements to the window company to make the screens for it.
Right.
We had been, I think we talked for probably 3 hours the first time I went over there. We just kind of hung out and talked, and a 10-minute job turned into 3 hours because we were sitting there yapping at each other. And
hope you weren't being paid by the hour at that time.
No. But so when I submitted the measurements for the windows, I think there was probably 10 or 12 windows. I only submitted about 3 or 4 of them at the right measurements, so that the rest of them were the wrong measurements, so that when I went to install them, these are all the wrong measurement. I guess I'll have to have them remade and come back again.
There you go.
So I did that about 2 or 3 times, and I said, well, I better get these right, or else she's just going to start thinking I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
So on the last time I went there, we decided, well, what if we hung out outside of me installing windows for you?
Right.
So kind of turned into a history from there, I guess.
Oh, cool. So how long have you dated then?
We've been together 5-6 years now.
Okay.
Just got engaged last October.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you have a wedding plan? Or
right now we do not. It's the way the world is and business and everything. We're just kind of taking our time with it. So
you owe me no explanation, just asking out of interest.
She said if she gets a ring, she'll shut up. So she got a ring. So she she hasn't complained about it too far. So
cool. Cool. So tell everybody first your work experience, your job experience after high school. What did you do?
So right after high school, I joined the military. I joined the Navy. Had no desire for college. Didn't feel like college was the right move for me. I just back then academically I was okay, but I just didn't think I was mature enough and ready for college. So joined the military. Did 5 years. I was overseas for 4 of those years.
Right.
Came back. Took a little time to just reacclimate to civilian life. Moved down to Florida with a girl that I was dating from the military. Got into doing apartment maintenance. Got into being a handyman, just doing that. Bounced around some jobs for a while. Worked at John Deere for 10 years. Decided to leave there and then do my home improvement business full time. I've been doing home improvement full time since 2021.
Okay.
Is when I decided to go full time with it. And since then we've been doing that. And my fiance works with me. She's my only employee, helper,
right.
partner. I mean, kind of all wrapped into one. So, but yeah, during the summer we do fences, and then during the winter we do home improvement stuff.
Yeah. Well, so let's go back to the Navy. Where all did you? Every Navy guy I've ever talked to has traveled the world.
Yeah.
so where all did you go?
So I went to boot camp in Chicago, which just leaving Jesup and going to Chicago was kind of an eye-opening experience.
Right.
Seeing it sounds cliche, but the tall buildings kind of blew my mind, took my breath away. You know, and after that, I got stationed in San Diego for a little while for some additional training. Got to see the ocean for the first time and saw a lot of it after that. But then after that, I got stationed in Japan.
Oh, what was your job in the Navy, Jordan?
So I was a gunner's mate. So in Chicago, that's where I learned how to be a gunner's mate. Just, guns, missiles, bombs, everything, kind of a general school. When I went to San Diego, that was more of a specialized school. So it was basically a missile technician. So I specialized in missiles. Then when I went to Japan, that was basically my job was just supervise, maintain, and make ready all the missile systems on the ship.
Okay.
So yeah.
So Japan and where was your favorite place in the world that you went?
Hands down, it was Australia. I mean, I've been to probably at least a dozen different countries, but Australia was the one country I'd always wanted to go to my entire life. I mean, since I was in middle school, I just wanted to go to Australia. It just seemed like such a cool, unique country and just everything. I mean, Australia is just a very enticing country anyway. It's a really neat place. So I got to go to Australia 3 times, and it was actually my last port that I got to visit before I left the military.
Oh, cool.
So it was kind of neat to put a nice little period on that chapter,
Every Australian person, they talk about the quality of person, the niceness of people from Australia. And although I've never been there, I've met a bunch of people from there, and they're just nice people.
Yeah, no, it was very friendly, very welcoming. I mean, it was, I've got stories from being out in the bars that I could a whole encyclopedia about. But no, it was a lot of fun. The people were fun. I mean, there were some countries that we went to that were a little less welcoming than others, but Australia was just an absolute blast.
Oh, cool. This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. I'm with Jordan Knebel, and Jordan has lived a rather adventurous life, although he's talked about his job and his work to this point. He's been involved in MMA fighting. He's been involved in professional football. You can tell he's a pretty hard lifter there. So let's start with the MMA stuff. What took you there? Where did you get that idea?
I mean, growing up, I was a scrawny, shy, nothing kid. I played football and everything, but I wasn't super athletic or, a big kid or anything like that. But after being in the military, I gained some size and some confidence, and I joined a branch, I guess. I don't want to say spec ops, but basically just another assignment on my ship where we did VBSS. It was vessel board search and seizure. I like to refer to it as we were basically Navy pirates.
Right, right.
Cargo ships that were out in the Gulf, we would board them, search them, search the containers, search the engineering and everything, and kind of make sure that, everything was on the up and up and that there was nothing hidden, or that they weren't stowing anything or carrying anything they weren't supposed to, and that there weren't like personnel that shouldn't be there, or people pretending to be someone that they're not,
Yeah.
Part of that training, we actually got to go to Honolulu, Hawaii for, I want to say 3 weeks. There was, I think, 21 or 25 of us that got to go. And during that time, we trained with former Navy SEALs, former Marine Recon, former any special forces branch you can think of. We trained with them, and they kind of basically just taught us how to effectively search a ship and handle business however it needed to be handled. So in that training was obviously hand-to-hand combat, jiu-jitsu, boxing, Muay Thai, just a assortment of different martial arts. And around that time is when I learned about Pride FC in Japan, which is basically the UFC before the UFC was around. So I had a buddy that was really into watching that, and he kind of got me into watching it. Kind of started learning some stuff from that, and when I got out of the Navy, I was living in Virginia with my girlfriend, who we eventually went down to Florida. I saw a commercial one night while I was sitting there watching TV of some fights that were coming up down there, and sign up if you wanted to, and let me try it. I've got all this training, thinking I'm a badass. Sure, I'll sign up for it. Didn't do any training leading up to it. Just, I've got all this experience and knowledge and, everything from the Navy. I should be fine. I got my ass kicked.
Yeah.
Took him 2 rounds to kick my ass, so I'll take that as a victory.
Right.
But after that, the competitiveness kind of jumped up in me, and found a gym down in Florida when I moved down there and started training, and came back up here for my second fight in Waterloo, and ended up winning that fight in the second round. And from there, I just got addicted to it. It was awesome learning. I really focused on jiu-jitsu. I liked the ground game. And I fought at heavyweight. A lot of heavyweights weren't really ground practitioners, I'll say. They more just kind of swing for the fences, and hopefully you knock the guy out before you run out of breath.
Right.
So being more skilled on the ground kind of really gave me a little bit of an advantage.
What is the ground? So the ground game is what?
Like jiu-jitsu, submissions, wrestling. You obviously you can get into positions where you can, rain down some damage and,
right.
Punch someone into submission. So that was always kind of fun.
Right. How many fights did you have, Jordan?
So I had 9 MMA fights. I got thrown into kickboxing fights. I hated it. I absolutely hated it, but I kept winning, so I kept getting thrown more kickboxing fights.
Who threw you into those? Or
Some promoters would come up and say, hey, you won this last fight. Would you want, this fight? And if you win that fight, we'll get you into a title fight.
Yeah.
It just, the opportunity, it's not that I had to take them, but it was good experience. It took me out of my comfort zone. I didn't like the stand-up game. I just felt awkward and not as comfortable as I did on the ground.
Right.
But, I threw myself into those positions to be uncomfortable and grow and learn. And, like I said, I kept winning, so I just kept getting more of them offered to me. And, I probably had 6 or 7 kickboxing fights.
So 9 what's the MMA stand for?
Mixed martial arts.
Okay, and then 9. So nine MMA fights, and then 9 kickboxing fights.
Yeah, somewhere around there. I'm not sure what my kickboxing record was. I wasn't as focused on that as I was my MMA
right. So
record. But
so there's 18 fights.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
And then what finally drove you out of it, Jordan?
Honestly, it was just time to move on from it. I quit doing MMA at one point because my mental health just wasn't there. I had a lot of things going on mentally that I needed time to kind of clear up and, work through and get myself back in the right mental headspace to, not just compete in MMA, but just, focus on my life, get myself, where I want to be. And that's when I started playing semi-pro football. The other nice thing about that was I went from an individual sport of, when you're competing in MMA, the spotlight's on you. Football, 10 other guys around me, the spotlight wasn't wasn't necessarily just on me. So it was kind of nice. I could still compete, still be active, but it was, if we lost, it wasn't necessarily 100% my fault that we lost.
Right.
So that was kind of nice. And then I missed, training and doing jiu-jitsu and everything. So I got back into MMA and started competing again, jumped around a few different gyms and trainers and everything, found a couple places that I really liked. And at the end of it, I still enjoyed MMA and still enjoyed competing, but the game was evolving faster than I could evolve with it.
Right.
So, the competitive edges that I used to have weren't there anymore. And I decided, before this turns into a thing where I'm on a 4-fight losing streak, I'm happy with my record. I'm happy with what I've accomplished. It's time to step away.
So the majority of your fights are in Waterloo?
Yeah, I would say Waterloo or Iowa-based anyway. I mean, I fought up in Rudd a few times. I've fought down in Cedar Rapids, Waterloo, Virginia, Florida. I mean, I've kind of mixed it up a little bit here and there. So
the football part of it, Jordan, what position did you play, and what were the teams you played on, or the team that you played on?
I played a little bit of everything. I was kind of a utility player. I mean, I played football in high school. I was an offensive guard and defensive end, which I had no right playing either one of those positions. I was such a scrawny, tiny kid, but right. I held my own good enough, I guess. But playing semi-pro, I played defensive end, and I played some tight end. I played fullback, linebacker, offensive tackle, nose guard, offensive guard. I mean, I got to play quarterback for a QB sneak for a touchdown one play,
cool.
So I can say that I've played quarterback, in my career. But yeah, I've just kind of played all around the place,
What was the team you played on?
So I bounced around on a lot of different teams too. I got a lot of different experiences. I played for the Cedar Valley Charge. They were only around for 1 year, out of Waterloo here. After that, I played for the Cedar Valley, the East Iowa Storm is what it was called. They were also out of Waterloo. And then after that, I played in Newton, down by Des Moines, for the Newton Nighthawks. They're still an organization there. It was their first year coming back as an organization. They took some time off. And the owner, Mark Mackerman, he's incredible owner, incredible coach, great guy. He brought me in, and it was a good team. There was a lot of growing pains that year, and driving 2 hours for a home game from up in Reedland to Des Moines every week kind of took a toll on us. So I only played with them for a year. After that, I kind of figured I was done just because there wasn't really anything around Waterloo, Cedar Falls area, or up by us. And a former teammate reached out to me and said, "Hey, we got this team in Ottumwa. We'd love to have you come down here. I think it was 6-man football."
Okay.
I was like, I know nothing about 6-man, but I'll check it out. And I went down and practiced with them for a little while. It wasn't an organization I wanted to put my body on the line for.
Right.
It was not that they were bad people or a bad organization. It just wasn't very well organized, and it was just kind of a thrown together thing. So I left that organization, but another team in Cedar Rapids, the Midwest Rampage, another teammate kind of said, well, we're thinking about going over there. Come with us. So I joined up with them, and that was the greatest decision I made in my football career.
Really?
I loved playing for the coach, Josh Christensen. He's a coach for Coe College down there.
Yeah.
That was the field that we played on, was Coe College.
Yeah.
There was no egos on the team. It was, everybody was there for the team. Everybody was, focused on the goal, winning and, being competitive. My first year there, I actually got voted as a team captain, which I had never been a team captain before.
Right.
So that was kind of a special moment. And at the end of the season, I got voted to the All-Star game, which, again, had never been to an All-Star game. So it was a really cool thing. That same year, so the Midwest Rampage didn't go to this game, but another coach from another team needed some players and reached out to my coach. So he offered the opportunity to me and a couple other guys, but we got to go to US Bank Stadium where the Minnesota Vikings play on Sunday, and I got to play on the Minnesota Vikings football field for a different team. It was just one game for this random team that I played for,
Right.
but it was an extremely unique and special moment. I mean, I got to, be in the locker room and be out on the field on US Bank Stadium, and we didn't win the game, which kind of sucked, but I kind of took advantage of the situation, and that's where I actually proposed to my fiance.
Oh, okay.
I was on the field. We got her a field pass and got her down there and proposed to her on the field. So it's kind of neat having everybody clapping and cheering for us. And I went back the next year, played for the Rampage again. First game of the season, I injured my knee. So I was out for about 6 weeks. Again, I got voted as a team captain the second year in a row. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect it the first time. Didn't expect it the second time. But was out for 6 weeks, came back, finished the season, got voted to the All-Star game again. And during that game, my knee just didn't feel 100%. It just felt questionable. And after that, I decided, well, I own my own business. It's, if I get hurt, if I blow my knee out, things aren't as secure as they would be if I wasn't self-employed. So I said, as much as I love the game, it's time to step away. I'm 40 years old. I've competed at a pretty high level this longer than most people have. So decided it was time to step away.
Oh, Jordan, I've got to ask, and obviously, it is how does MMA pay for a person at the level that you were fighting at? How does the semi-pro football pay like that? Does it pay?
So the MMA, I was an amateur. I never went pro as a MMA fighter. It was all based off ticket sales. I basically made a percentage off of the tickets I sold, which, some fights make a couple $100. Other fights, you don't make a dime. Right. You're paying your own gas and everything to get there. There were a couple times where I had a hotel paid for me or, something like that. If I was fighting I think I had a fight in Davenport, and I got put up at the casino down there. Yeah. Which, having an Isle Casino hotel paid for and staying there for free to fight, I felt like I was, in the UFC. I thought I was big time then. Right. But yeah, that's basically all that was. And the semi-pro, there was no pay there. It was, you have to pay your player fees, all your equipment you pay for, you pay for your jerseys. And by the end of it, when you're starting out, if you don't have all the equipment and everything, I mean, you're into it for probably close to $1,000 before you even get to step on the field. And it's an investment, it's a risk because, if you get hurt the first game and you're out for the season, you just paid all that money for nothing. But it motivated me because it's, I'm paying to be here and paying to do this. I'm not taking any snaps off. I'm not going to just sit on the sideline and watch and not participate. I'm going to go out there and give it everything I got because, I'm paying to be here. So
Sure. Well, and that brings me to a list. I always do a top 5 list, and I'll ask you to think about this as I give you my list. The 5 most adventurous people that I know in my life, or that I've known in my life. Number 5, and I think you may have graduated before he came, the guy that took Mr. Ellison's place, Al Relo. He can do anything. He's not afraid to do anything. Bought a house and just changed that house inside and out. Incredible. Not afraid to try things. Is an avid outdoorsman, a hunter, a fisherman. Number 4, my cousin Larry Benson, although he's no longer around. Larry taught me this. I try to do an adventure every day, and Larry was like that.
See, and that's an awesome mindset. Last week when we met at the library and we were talking, I've talked to a couple former classmates. I don't remember Courtney Kaiser.
Right.
Remember him?
Right. Yeah.
I talked to him and I was like, dude, you're never gonna guess who I ran into. And we were talking, and I said, dude, first off, you're an absolute legend. I mean, you're a legend, man. And we were talking, and I was like, dude, that's such a Gillespie way to live. Just one adventure a day, whether it's a new cup of coffee, a new recipe, or, skydiving, like you said. Yeah. That's just such a you way to live. And I mean, that's an amazing mindset to have.
I appreciate you saying that. Thank you. Number 3, Jason Sullivan, the social studies teacher at the high school yet today. And I think you had Jason.
If I did, it was right at the end. He might have came in right after I was there.
I think you're right. Although Jason, you have your son's involved with football.
Yep.
And Jason's still involved, but Sullivan isn't afraid to jump in with adventure. And for example, last year he took his family to the Olympics. Like that. Just remarkable, the stuff that he does. Number 2, Corey Knebel. Corey Knebel is a drill sergeant. She fought MMA for a while.
Yeah.
She was in the roller derby for a while. Just a remarkable person. She does documentaries and the like. And then number 1, you, because you were involved in the Navy. You traveled the world. You fought MMA, you played professional football, you changed jobs and weren't afraid to change jobs. A lot of people are afraid to change jobs, Jordan.
Yeah, leaving John Deere to start my own business and jump into that venture, that was absolutely terrifying, but I wouldn't change it. I always used to say this as a joke because, a lot of the stories I have, it's just wild stories that just sound made up half the time, but when I was overseas, I kind of took advantage of the situation and said, I'm going to live for the story. Right. In 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, this is going to be an awesome story to tell. Yep. Whether it's a good story, a bad story, a funny story, holy crap, I probably should be dead right now story. I mean, just live for the story.
Oh, that's a good way to live. As far as adventures are concerned, like we talked about, you don't have to do death-defying things to be an adventurer. Do you have a list of people? Anybody come out in your mind?
Man, see, and that's the hard thing is all the people I've met throughout the years and just different experiences I've had, it's hard to nail down what a top 5 would be or even even a top 20 would be. I mean, there's so many people that have done so much more and had way more adventures and way cooler experiences than I've had. So I mean, that's a hard list to put together.
I understand. Well, and that's no problem.
That's a good little brainworm to kind of think about, though.
Here are the 5 greatest adventures taken in world history, in my mind, including outside the list, top 5. And you can comment on these, and maybe one comes to your mind. Although I've never. This is off the list. Albert Hoffman, the inventor of the LSD. I can't imagine, and I could never do it. The emotional, the mental things about that. That's off the list. Another off the list, Yuri Gagarin, the first man to orbit the Earth in 1961. Imagine, the fear that I would have.
Literally in the unknown.
Yeah.
As unknown as you can get is outer space, and I'm obsessed with outer space. I love watching documentaries about outer space, and just when I have a minute, when I'm sitting in bed at night, and your mind wanders, that's where my mind goes.
Oh,
it's outer space. Oh yeah.
Wow.
I will go down rabbit. Yeah. He's shaking his head. Yeah. I will go down rabbit holes and just think, what is this, or where is this, or how is that? Just anything with outer space. I geek out about. I absolutely love it.
Another off the list is Captain Matthew Webb, the first man to swim the English Channel.
Oh yeah,
just a grueling endurance.
Yeah, I mean that's about as lonesome as you can be in about as hostile of an environment as you can be. I mean, you're literally on your own in this channel and
cold water besides. It's not like swimming down the Caribbean.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's a whole different animal.
Yeah, and the last outside the list was Lindbergh's solo flight around the world. As far as the aviator. Not around the world, but his Atlantic flight over the Atlantic. Just remarkable bravery.
Yeah.
Not knowing if you could make it. Number 5. The first man to reach the summit of Everest, Sir Edmund Hillary, is number 5 for me. Number 4, Raoul Amundsen expedition led the first expedition to the South Pole. I could never do that. The cold and the snow and
just how. I mean, and that's the crazy thing to think about. And we go camping a lot.
Right.
I love taking the kids camping. My family, we love to go camping and exploring different places, and just the technology we have now to navigate and know where you're at,
right,
compared to back then. It's unfathomable. Like even the early settlers in America, how did you get where you were going, and how did you know how to get back? I mean, it's hard to fathom that.
And that brings me to the next one. Number 3, the Lewis and Clark expedition.
Yes.
I can't imagine them going. They ran out of meat, and they were without meat till they got back basically to the Colorado River and got a bison. Got a buffalo.
Yeah.
That's number 3. Number 2, the Charles Darwin voyage on the HMS Beagle. He was gone for 5 years exploring new animals and new creatures.
Yeah.
And number 1, Ferdinand Magellan expedition around the world, not knowing where you're going. Like you said.
Yeah, again, going back, navigating by the stars. Being a, naval man myself, I never did the navigation or anything like that, but just how do you, imagine being the first person to come up with being able to navigate with the stars. Like I can't even begin to fathom and put together how you would make that into a navigational tool. No,
that's, you're right. Brilliant people, and, people that weren't afraid to fail. That's the thing that impresses me about you and about the people that were on my list and these people. Like we talked about Gagarin in Earth. He had to count on other people. Well,
and it's funny because my kids, they see me succeed in a lot of things, or just be able to pick something up and just be able to do it. Or, like with my home improvement stuff, I didn't take shop class. I didn't take woodworking I took no classes in high school or growing up. I had no knowledge of it. I had no interest in it. After I got out of the Navy, I just kind of dove into it, and I was able to absorb it then and kind of get better at it as the years went on. And so things like that, my kids see me pick up a hobby or play a game or something. They're like, God, why are you so good at that? Well, because I spent a lot of years being bad at everything. You gotta be bad at it to be good at it. So you're never gonna start day one being great at something. So if you go into something with day one saying, well, I'm gonna suck at this, but I'm gonna be better on day 2. I'll be better on day 3. It's kind of the mindset I went into a lot of things with, because growing up, like I said, I wasn't really a skilled kid. I wasn't a smart kid. I wasn't an athletic kid. I was just about as average of a kid as you could come up with, and I was always so worried about, what everybody thought of me, what, how I looked, how I sounded, how I acted, am I cool? Am I not cool? I wasn't cool at all. But you just get over that fear of the stigma that, oh, well, if I fail, everyone's going to make fun of me, or everyone's going to laugh at me, or, everyone's going to think I'm a failure. And it's like, well, screw it. Everybody fails.
Right. I just started a book about it's called The Misfit Manifesto. And I'm not calling you a misfit as I say that.
I've been called worse, so it's fine.
No, I'm not calling you that. No, but this book talks about, everybody has been questioned in their life, made fun of in their life, perhaps bullied in their life. And you need to let those people inside, because they got a lot to give. They're different, but there's nothing wrong with different. There's value. There's value in uniqueness.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good in uniqueness.
Absolutely.
I understand. The reason I bought the Misfit Manifesto was I fit there. I believe I fit there. I am drawn to that. That's why I look forward. I have that book sitting on my desk at home. When I get home, I'm going to read it. It's just a tiny book, but I'm going to read it. written by a lady, and I wish I could remember her name. Spent 2 terms in jail. She spent time in rehab. She's failed a lot in her life, but she's always wanted to be a professional writer, and she's written 3 books, and she has a TED Talk on YouTube that's got 2 million views. So she's succeeded in. Jordan, is there anything that I didn't ask you tonight that you'd like to tell us about?
I mean, I've got I've got enough stories. I could probably write 3 books of my own if I wanted to.
Are you interested? Do you see yourself ever writing a book?
With everything I've done and the experiences I've had, I think it would be smart to write a book. I mean, just like anything else, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to approach it or, get into it. And right now I'm just focused on, continuing to build my business, my family, everything. And maybe, 5, 10, 15 years from now, maybe that'll be the time to sit down and say, okay, now we're going to write a book. We're going to open up this chapter of life. For right now, not really too concerned about it, but I've got other ventures and things that I want to dive into before something like that. So
you want to tell us one that you have?
I know my voice is kind of worn out right now. I've been talking all day, but one thing I've looked into doing is like voice acting. Mm-hmm. I've always thought that was kind of neat, doing either, character voices for animation, commercial, just something in the background. But, I've always joked that, I got a face for radio.
There you go.
So, I mean, something like that, with all my sports knowledge and history and everything, getting into coaching or something like that would kind of be interesting for me. And just, even in my home improvement business, learning different trades or different skills or different aspects of it. A while ago, right when my daughter was born, I had a kind of a major knee surgery and I was going to be off work for 9 months. I didn't want to sit around on the couch and just play video games and watch TV for 9 months. Mm-hmm. So I started watching YouTube videos and reading books and learned how to get into woodworking.
Yeah.
Like I said, I never was in woodworking before, didn't know anything about it. Watched enough YouTube and Google and started, making just different little things woodworking. And then a few years ago, I was obsessed with epoxy for a long time, watching, countertops and epoxy artwork and stuff. And I just fell in love with it. Watched enough videos and, studied it long enough. Now we do epoxy countertops. And, I absolutely love working with epoxy. And, I was never really an artistic kid growing up. I'm sure Steve would be proud of me for some of the work I've done artistically. I think it's turned out really nice.
Oh yeah.
So just stuff like that. Just reinventing yourself and exploring new avenues. And like I said, I was never an artistic kid. I didn't care about art. To this day I couldn't draw a stick figure. It looked pretty goofy. But when it comes to epoxy and mixing things and we can make something that looks like legitimate marble or legitimate stone.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of cool. It's neat reinventing yourself.
Oh, that is neat. Well, Jordan Knebel, thanks for being with us. If you'd stay around, I just got about 5 minutes for wrapping up here, and we'll talk before you leave here.
Absolutely.
Don't forget, this is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. And don't forget, in September, the third Sunday in September at 2 o'clock in the Land of Corn Park Pavilion, we have the Jam Fest, or the Jam Session with musicians that want to come and join us. That goes from 2 until 3:30. That's the 21st. Then the 22nd, we are meeting at Gedney's at 9 o'clock. That is artist collaboration. Any artists are welcome to join us. Jordan, you're welcome to join us on the 22nd at 9 o'clock at Gedney's in Independence if you want to. We have the artist the month is John Casey, a Waterloo artist. He is being displayed at M's Coffee. He has 20 pieces up there. please get in. Em has been a great supporter of us, and get in and see John's art if you can. Don't forget that we have a 24-hour Mustang camera sponsored by Joe's Pizza and Independence. Don't forget that I'm looking for 12 artists for next year to exhibit in M's Coffee. I have one artist so far for next year. I've got this year all filled up, and I have January, but I need 11 more artists. So Jordan, if you know any artists, let me know.
You talking about like wall decor kind of art, or
well,
I think
painting and pictures.
We might have to have a conversation because we do epoxy art as well. So
good.
It's something we could look into.
Yeah. So we need 12 artists for 2026. The days my gratitude outweigh my expectations are mighty good days, and this has been a good day with you coming in, Jordan. Thank you so much.
No, I absolutely appreciate this. This is, any chance to sit down and talk with you is a great experience. So yeah, no, this has been pretty cool.
If you'd like to donate to the Steve Brown Arts Center or have an idea for an event, go to the SteveBrownArtsCenter.org and follow the link. If you have news or would like to sponsor us, email us at jim@SteveBrownArtsCenter.org or call 319-290-0241 and leave a message. I'm Jim Gillespie with Jordan Knebel and producer Blake Tempus. Our thanks, as always, to Kelly C. Haas and Cowork 591 for hosting us and sponsoring us. Thanks, as always, to the audience for bringing these stray dogs into your life. And remember that each day is about little victories.